Putting up tin buildings for classes and eliminating the playground in that school for another is unnecessary for all. And these problems and unnecessary spending must stop. Thank you.
There are problems with Beech Street School. You can look at the proficiency scores and understand that. Those issues need to be addressed inside the building. Education happens within the building. By the way, you are going to be taking away a park in an area where these children need a safe place to play. It's unacceptable. You're not thinking about how this actually impacts these families. If you really feel that passionately, though, about building a new school, go out, reach out to people that help put you in these seats, the big donors, and ask them to invest in this city and in this school. If you can't do that, if they don't see a value in it, then there isn't one. The taxpayers cannot afford another dime, and I am telling you that. I just ran for a campaign. I just spoke to voters. Their number one priority, their number one concern is what is happening with inflation and the fact that they cannot pay their taxes.
While the current school will presumably be raised to create more parkland, there will still be a large net loss in open green space. Well, one way to reduce that debt would be to stop this project. It saves over $80 million.
The school board seems to have tunnel vision on the shiny object, a new high school, new mega high school, and lost focus on students' education and their safety. I implore the board to table the Beech Street Phase 1 project, estimated cost of $306 million, until Phase 2 is presented in the next few weeks.
I believe that taxes should go for needs, not wants. And frivolous spending isn't a need, it's a want, so.
The proposal of phase 1 is $306 million, according to the report that I read yesterday. Again, I didn't know of this whole issue. I've heard of it, never paid attention to it. But when I dug into it, I found that the debt service on this is almost $500 million by the time it's done. So what we're looking at is $306 million, but at the end of the day, it's $500 million by the time that it's paid off in 20 years. Do you think the city of Manchester can actually afford that? That's the question that I ask all of you.
Spending state aid meant to improve low-income education outcomes on buildings for building's sake is unacceptable. Tens of millions of dollars can be saved by renovating existing building or buildings, Beech Street or McDonough, that was also proposed in the plan, using the trailers purchased by the city, already at our 4 middle schools. So once again, we're just bumping out the timeline. I want to remind you that it came to the ballot multiple times. This checks and balances has been approved by your constituents. You are meant to be here doing this.
We can't afford it. I'm a senior, fixed income. I cannot afford higher taxes. Please listen to your constituents and vote no.
If it's closed for the next 2+ years, where will this neighborhood go? I'm deeply concerned by the lack of answers about how this community will be impacted during this construction.
I lived on Green Street when I was 5 years old. I remember that park. That's the only green space I was allowed to go into in our neighborhood. And back then, the neighborhood isn't as bad as it was today. It's always been a poor neighborhood, but it's a dangerous neighborhood today because of all the drugs and everything that's happening throughout the city. So I would encourage you to repurpose that building. Here we are as a city looking for places for veterans' homes, looking for homeless shelters. Why would you tear down a perfectly good building that could be retrofitted into any multiple use? More and more schools, the building doesn't make the education. Charter schools are blowing public school numbers out of the water in the state of New Hampshire. Beech Street School was the state of the art when it was built, because I remember playing in that empty lot as a kid. And that state of the art was open classroom concepts, which made no sense.
How can this Board of Aldermen honestly make a decision on a project that has not been properly presented to the community? I have been following this proposal from day one. I was convinced that there was no way that this current board would approve of such a project that would create a long-lasting financial hardship to the taxpayers, a project proposed with crucial information being withheld.
We're also looking to do these builds at the highest time. The interest rates are at one of the highest times. Why are we doing this now? Why are we going to borrow money? Why don't we wait when interest rates comes down? Most business people sell when it's high and wait and then start doing things when interest rates come back down.
The school, I have my own personal opinions about it. I think it's rubbish, this proposal that's out there. I think it needs to be tossed and look at it. We need to give our kids a good, proper education that's going to prepare them for future,
3 minutes.
for their life. They don't need
a nice building for 3 years. They need a lifetime.
I feel that it's financially and socially irresponsible to make a decision to move this quickly. And if the showing tonight of people concerned about this is not a good cross-section of the people of Manchester, I don't know what is. If you're representing the people, I please ask you to listen to the people who have spoken tonight and to represent them with your vote. The money that we approved, the $306 million, just a quick calculation just for fun, you could pay every one of the 1,200 employees in our school district a $20,000 a year wage raise for the next 13 years with that money.